and they come out, and Daddy's Little Girl and Dwayne Johnson made what, $100 and something million when you add in the video release and the DVD releases, and Gone Baby Gone, great movie, but probably what's it still in the 20s? It's not even out of the 30s, I don't think yet.
Well,
even with the DVD releases,
and I don't think that Gone Baby Gone got the marketing.
No, certainly. I mean, blame Miramax for that. I guess
the movie business is so mercurial. You just never know. There's no way to
made
predict
its money
what's
back,
going to be a hit or not.
So for them, it was a success. But you take a look at it. What did people want to go see? When Mall Cop was being shot, how many people were saying, I don't want to work on, because now people had a chance. And so how many of the extras are like, I want to get on this movie because it's going to be a hot movie or it's going to be a better review movie. And I'm like, go where there's work. And go where, because that's the thing that people forget about it. But even the big stars, you'll hear them say it and they'll remind you is, and I've worked the red carpet for the Globe and for other publications. I think I've been on the red carpet 11 times in the last 13 years. And by that I mean at the Oscars. And when you're there, it's a finished product, but they all will still remind you it's a business.
Right. It's all about
and we all know that as
line.
much as there's so much stuff going on here, and Robin Dawson once beat me up for, and I truly like her. I'm just saying this. She once beat me up publicly at a forum because I had written in print that a particular movie that I won't rank on proved that not only could movies be made in Massachusetts, but that really bad movies could be made in Massachusetts.
That's just not fair.
Hey, but I'm saying it's a business. So you got to work where it is, and you got to nurture that business. And frankly, we all know that if New York keeps offering better deals, the movie productions, even the ones set in Boston, will go back to New York. And thank God that the Canadian dollar is as bad as it is, because if it didn't suck as bad as it did right now, we'd still be losing work to Toronto and Montreal, which looks like the Back Bay or whatever. So,
all right. So what's going on with the different production studios and sound stages? I hear mixed stories. Come on, guys, give it up. South Boston, I heard their studios in South Boston. You talked about that on the show that you were on, the South Boston Report.
I know of 4 projects, and I
Weymouth,
will defer to you,
Plymouth.
Chuck, because I know you're out there on some of them. But I will say this, that everybody in the community should know this, that the biggest producers clinic of the year is called Produced By. And it's the first week, June 4th, June 5th, the first week of June in LA. One of the top 3 underwriters of the project is the Plymouth Rock Studios. You don't get your name on that unless people think it's... even if you write a check, you don't get your name on something like that unless people really think you're the real deal. So when people ask me, who's out there, I love what I've heard about South Boston and what, the builders and the developers, and is it the Pappases, and others who have been involved in that. And I've never seen them do a bad project. I also like the idea of Weymouth.
Weymouth has all the infrastructure, so they're saying that's so much easier to go.
We've already filmed movies there. How many movies were filmed there just because they needed a site like that? And I was a big fan of putting it out in Devens, but it's just so far away from everything unless you opened up the Worcester Airport. So I would defer to you.
Yeah, well, as far as like the studios, I think that as far as like you're saying with Plymouth Studios underwriting, part of it is a lot of these studios are going to turn into more warehouses. So when films come in, like we're used to going to the Kmart when they do their stage stuff, So now it'll be that there'll be a room where you're not going to hear the rain,
And how is that going to be different from High Output in Canton?
Well, I don't know. Does High Output bring in movies?
They have sound stages. They're there. They're available. I guess they're just not as...
And Emerson College, when they finish that building behind the Paramount Theater marquee, they'll have 2 or 3 blue screen rooms.
Really?
And when I interviewed some of the folks who worked on Beowulf, they told me that, how big is your studio right here that we're recording in? Is it about 20 by 10?
40.
Yeah, something like that.
30 by...
This is about...
Because they said that they were...
20 by 30, maybe 35.
And they were telling me they were on like 20-foot wide spaces. They'd gallop the horse, then they'd get off.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Because they needed to be perfectly shootable from 360, all the way around the box. So you don't, what we've all learned is you don't necessarily need the whole world, and sometimes circumstances have been our best ally in Massachusetts. I don't mean that nobody should build in Massachusetts, but the Cabot property down in Westwood there, where they're building how many condos and buildings and development down there by the MBTA station and the train station. that was The Rock's apartment. It was the locker room. It was everything, and it was Disney made that into a sound studio, and the developers couldn't have been happier because somebody's using it. Or the former Metropolitan State Hospital in Waltham. How many movies shot there?
Yeah.
In Chelsea, there's that junk warehouse.
Which is everything.
That's what I was just going to say. It's done everything from Pink Panther to the Mel Gibson film.
It was the French government offices.
Well, I was in a scene for the Pink Panther movie. Charles de Gaulle Airport was the new convention center.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you cannot
you
believe.
can see that out. You can
It
see
was
that in the
unbelievable.
movie. Did you see it in the movie when you come out?
I did not spend the money to see that movie.
Okay, but you can see it when you come
I
out.
can't believe it,
Sorry.
Chris.
I know. I'm kind of busy. Imagine that.
That was a fun movie.
I bet it was.
Yeah, I mean,
they need to cast me in a speaking role, then I will be there.
Oh, he's such
Anyway,
a snob. He's such a snob.
I want to talk more about Carol's TV show, the production of it.
Yes, it's Terry Stanley's TV
Okay.
show. And I should also tell you
Yeah.
that the executive producer is a young guy by the name of Andrew Holt, who got his start working as sort of everybody's production assistant all the way up. His
See,
training is
that's the
all
stuff
through
I
the
want to
film.
hear.
Yeah.
His training's all through film. So what you're going to see is, in the footage I've seen, utilizing, my best skills are working my Rolodex and coming up with stories and trying to figure out that stuff. I make no pretense that I could, sit there and produce and direct a TV show. What Drew does then is take these ideas and actually make you feel some of that excitement that we've all said kind of exists in Boston, but nobody knows how to capture it.
Well, that's awesome.
And it's not the traditional camera rolls straight on, dead on. He's not afraid. There's not a lot of boom mics. There's a lot of lapel mics, so people can walk around with their packs, so that you really. And sometimes, that almost mistake makes for the greatest film moment. When you've got the back of somebody's head running down to go talk to somebody. I mean, it's literally like that much fun. When they're out there on site, and it also makes it easier to move through the store and. If you're doing a fashion segment, Tanya Chen Mesrick is also.
I bet there's some neat camera work and some editing happening too.
A lot of editing, a lot of, it is very much like a film rather than a newscast.
Wow, that's cool.
In that it's, HD and all that sort of stuff, but it's a lot more on the back end of making sure, it's been cut and done right. And
and you're going to have the entire New England audience because they have a humongous signal, New England Cable News.
Yeah. And at least that way we are in all the New England states. And now that New England Cable News is soon to be, as I read in the newspaper, it was half owned by Comcast, half owned by Hearst, and Comcast is buying out the other half of
it was Hearst
done.
Channel 5. Well, you know what else? I mean, Comcast CN8, they got rid of their entertainment show. So what a perfect, it would be perfect if this could plug in. But the question I have for you, Carol, after all these years of working with you and sharing so many exciting celebrity moments in Boston area.
We shared George Clooney one evening.
Yes, we did. We were both there, and we were very polite. We didn't fight over him like everybody else. We took our turns interviewing him.
At the Boston Film Festival.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That was last year.
Right,
Yeah.
Jerry Weintraub and George Clooney and Rob
I think
Gorelnik.
you invited me or said
All of them. Yeah, you were my date. You told me you were busy that you couldn't be my date that
What was
night.
I thinking?
In any event, what I want to know.
It's crazy.
What's that, Chuck?
I said he skipped you and Pink Panther too. I don't feel too bad. I mean,
That's it. You're 2 strikes, sweetie. You only got one more. All right. So what I want to know is, are you going to be able to access the stars as you've done so well all these years for this show, Carol? Because with all these celebrities in time, I mean, Adam Sandler, Selma Hayek, Ben Affleck.
I think
the
she's putting you on the spot.
The list
I
just
think
goes
she
on and
is.
on.
The answer
Issues
is,
your challenge.
I want to make it clear. The idea of style, but there will be a place for celebrities, and there
I
will be a
certainly
place for that local scene.
So there you
because
go, Chuck. You're in business.
There we go. We're back to getting Chuck a segment on this. But the have your people call my people.
Yeah, right. Your people got my
The reality is that now that makes up a part of the life of Boston. The show is really aimed at, and I know that others have tried to go more on the glamour side of things and more on the celebrity kind of things. We have a place to cover that, as well as philanthropy, and as well as, and I'm not trying to make us sound better. I'm just trying to point out that we wanted to cover the variety of Boston to show what's really here.
Then that leaves a huge gap for mass movie mavens on